I gotta watch for snakes here. They already killed a 6-foot rattler, so probably a 4-foot rattler because it's like fishing. Anyways, I've already done a thing on this big old dragline, but I got a bunch of new information on the old girl I thought I'd share. It was purchased brand new, 1932, 33, 34, by the family of a man who would become one of Montana's governors, and used on their stuff out towards Bannock. I'm not sure where their mine was. Anyways, used on their stuff. It was then donated here, and it was in perfect operating condition. This was the crane they used to set the trusses when they rebuilt the great big barn. It was supposed to be included with the rest of that equipment that ended up basically being scrapped, the big steam crane and everything else. And then it was rediscovered that it had been donated by a past governor, at which point somebody decided that's probably not the best idea. At that point, it was decided that it needed to be moved back here because it doesn't fit the 1860s era, which is perfectly legit reasoning in my mind. It's kind of surprising it didn't go down to River of Gold. If you ever see the River of Gold stuff, they kind of do mining through the ages, and it would have fit in perfectly with theirs, and it was like 200, 300 feet away. They could have just walked her there. Instead, it was decided to be put back here. So they torched the boom off, and then they were loading it on the lowboy, and it slipped and fell, and that's why it looks the way it does now. It actually rolled off onto this side, the side facing us here, rolled off the truck onto its side, at which point they had to right the machine again, drag it back up on the truck. The sad part, I think, is that it did run. If you'd have given one of our local mechanics an hour, could have fired the old girl up, because it ran fine, walked fine, steered fine. It's an ugly machine, but it was in perfectly good mechanical condition. Unfortunately, then the boom is actually behind that barn. You can see there. That's where they put the boom. I don't know why so far away. But anyways, the sad thing is, probably now, the next big go-around, 15, 20 years from now, you're going to have this machine. It's going to be smashed on one side. People are going to remember when it was drug up here on a truck. It's got no boom anymore. It's just garbage. Cut it up. Well, unfortunately, if the two were married, but I don't think you can see the boom at all. If the two were married back together, you'd have a fine operating machine. Once again, it's a big diesel motor. Big diesel motors do just fine. Shut off for years and years and years, and they will light back up. Diesel doesn't leave the residues. Injection pumps, everything is just hunky-dory. So that's the update on this old girl. 1932, 33, 34, purchased new, owned by a former Montana state governor's family. It was brought here, was destined to be sold, almost certainly for scrap. Then it got a reprieve, badly damaged during the move. Now it sits here and its future is uncertain. But for at least a decade or so, she's probably going to be okay. So I wanted to get a picture of the boom and bucket, and it's much, much farther away than I thought. I don't understand why they're 1,000 feet or more away. Pins were torched. I think this is a great example of how, despite the fact that she looks ugly, great shape. The boom pins are in no way egged out. The holes are good and smooth. Appears to be some maybe road grader cutting plate slabbed on either side to give her a pivot point. It also, to me, I think it might be a boom extension. It's maybe like they took the boom from a smaller machine, because you'll notice that the paint stops there, unpainted all the way through. You notice that the metal has rivet holes. It's been salvaged from other things. Cut mark, paint again. So maybe what we're looking at is simply an extended boom. But here's the pulleys and sheath. She was a big old girl. Henricks. We got 1.5 LS, so be 1.5 yards maybe. It looks bigger than 1.5 yards, but it's got a model number 22495. Even the attachment points say Henricks on them, so I'd say it's all original. There she is. Shows a fair bit of use, if I'm honest. So this old girl, she dug some in her lifetime, but whether she digs some again, I guess that's up to the fates to decide. So there you go. A long update, but now you know as much as I know as to the condition and future prospects of this old dragline. My guess would be not particularly high. Alright, I found a spot. So there's the dragline. Right back down in there. And there is the boom. I have no idea why they're so far apart.